What's up, everybody? Welcome to our second episode of Real Ridiculous. I am Josh. I am here with Fudge from our respective homes. Zach's slowly going crazy over there, but luckily we have movies to talk about constantly. Today, we got a good one because we have someone that's been in every movie since 1992, it seems like, and a very wide range of movies. Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd's career has gone from 1992 when he got his first role all the way until now. He's still making movies, obviously, some of the bigger ones in Avengers and Ant-Man. So we have a huge list of movies that we want to talk about. We're going to go through 5 different segments today. But before we kick that off, Zach, tell us about Paul Rudd.
Career-wise, he got his first acting debut on the TV series Sisters back in '92. He debuted on the big screen with one of my all-time favorite movies, Clueless. When people know him from Anchorman, he came in big there, had a lot of good movies afterwards. And Ant-Man just blew up his career. I know we're talking about movies here, but I know people watching this will be a little upset if I don't mention that he was on 2 sitcoms, Friends and Parks and Rec. So take it easy there, my cinephiles. But yeah, he's done over $2.5 billion box office draw since he got his debut in '95 with his first movie. He's been in 75 acting credits. Mostly leads, but leads in supporting roles, not including cameos there. But he's been nominated for a number of awards, possibly the best award he's been nominated for, and I think it was a snub, was for Best Kiss MTV Movie Awards from his role with I Love You Man.
Let's dive into the first segment on Paul Rudd, and I think it's one that is going to be very difficult for both of us. We're going to dive into Paul Rudd's best movie.
Okay.
So I believe you have this bracket for me, Zach, and I'm going to pick, and you're going to agree with every single thing that I talk about.
Not a chance. We will not agree. So I'm going to start you off with 2 of the movies that I've mentioned here, 2 of his more well-known roles, and the first one being Ant-Man from the Marvel Universe, going up against Anchorman. Put both the men together there.
What a tough start. So we're going to have a chance to talk about all of these movies as we go through. So maybe I'll just talk in depth about the movies that I'm going to eliminate from the best. So this is really tough because he's so good in Ant-Man. And Anchorman, I know he's not really a lead, but he is in the movie just as much as
he's a strong supporting cast member here.
I'm gonna say Anchorman moves on. I think it is more of an iconic movie. I think it's more quotable. It's one that if you said to anybody, if you ask not just Paul Rudd, people are gonna know Paul Rudd is in it. But if you ask Will Ferrell, to name a Will Ferrell movie, that's gonna be one that's up there, if not the first one that's mentioned.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 60% of the time they'll quote that all the time.
So I am moving on Anchorman. Now, Ant-Man was an awesome movie. I think it's one of the best Marvel superhero movies. I think Paul Rudd also plays the best Ant-Man that you could. I don't know if there's anybody that you could put in there that would be a better Ant-Man, just with like his mannerisms, just the ability to do a comedic role and then also do a serious role when needed. And also, I mean, he's got that fatherly aspect to it as well. So Ant-Man was awesome. I loved it. It's one of my favorite superhero movies, but it's not being Anchorman. So I gotta say Anchorman's moving on. Wow. Brian Fantana.
A lot of people are going to be upset with you on that one. I guarantee it. Let's give you a little bit easier one here. I think this will be an easy one. We're going to go with Clueless versus This Is 40.
So we talked a little bit about Clueless before we started, and I don't think it's that great of a movie. I think people talk about it. It's one that people remember, but it came out, 90s, right? 95, one of his first few years of acting.
You're only saying that because you're still a virgin.
I told you that in confidence. So I'm gonna move on. This is 40. This is 40. I think is a cool movie, but Clueless is just too old for me. Not that they didn't make good movies back then. Obviously, the time period doesn't determine whether it's a good movie or not. But I don't think there's a ton of substance to that. I think it's a good like teen comedy, but it's now that I'm older and I have a family now, this is 40 just seems a little bit more relevant to me. So I think just overall in the cast as well, I think that this is 40 moves on. Sorry, Clueless.
As if. All right. I guess we'll go to your next one here.
No way.
Two very good movies. I think personally, these could be top two of his tops. I'm going to give you Role Models versus Dinner for Schmucks.
Very like similar kind of humor in both of those. I think Role Models is every movie that we're going to talk about is hilarious. Paul Rudd is in so many iconic movies and he's played so many just really funny characters, but he always plays like a serious funny character, right? So we talked about David Spade last time, and David Spade is almost in the similar types of roles that Paul Rudd is, where there's other people that are the more ridiculous, over the top characters, and then there's the more subdued role where he's still really funny, but he's more controlled, and I like the adult in the situation, or at least he tries to be. I'm gonna move on Role Models. Again, I think it's more quotable. I think it's a better story. Dinner for Schmucks has a great ending. It's such a feel-good movie. Steve Carell is obviously just as funny. Like a lot of these movies, it's the same kind of universe.
I can't believe you're passing up. You got Steve Carell, Paul Rudd, and Zach Galifianakis.
I know it's
one movie together, and they're not making it past the pigtails here. It's crazy.
But you also have in Role Models, you have Sean William Scott, right? Jane Lynch in it.
McLovin.
There's a lot of really good characters in that too. So I don't think the cast. I think you could put. Maybe I'll put it on the screen and just kind of the lead actors on this. If you go head to head, the casts are really cool. It was just more quotable. It's something that people are going to remember more, and I think more people have probably seen Role Models than Dinner for Schmucks. Although Dinner for Schmucks is a really good movie, I'm moving along Role Models.
Give him your hat.
You're just gonna quote every single one of these movies like you have something written down.
I'm trying so hard not to just quote all of these. Give him your hat. Just give him your hat. All right, our last matchup is going to be I Love You Man, Paul Rudd playing Peter Kleiben, versus Wet Hot American Summer.
So Netflix came out with the follow-up series for Wet Hot American Summer last year, I think it was.
They have two of them, I believe. They did two series, or a second movie and a prequel.
Yeah. And so Wet Hot American Summer, I think, is too ridiculous, though, to be put on the best movie list. So
really,
I not to be put on the best movie list, but to move along here. I Love You Man is, again, all of these movies have really awesome casts, and Jason Segel is really funny. There's not one movie we're going to talk about here that I don't say is really funny, or that that people aren't really funny, because they truly are. But the storyline is better. It's although what's his name, Law and Order.
Christopher Meloni?
Christopher Meloni is like, what an awesome role. He plays some of the coolest roles in movies, by the way.
By far. If you're we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Yes, by far.
But I think I Love You Man it truly is like just a more well-rounded, better movie. Again, these are, I'm picking, I feel like, more of the newer movies, but I think as his career has gone, Paul Rudd has just become like such a well-rounded actor that he can do comedy, he can do serious, and then when you have some of these movies where it mixes both of those, where you actually still get a really funny movie, but it's not slapstick, it's not. It doesn't take away from an actual storyline, and I think that's where I Love You Man edges out Wet Hot American Summer a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna cross bracket here for excitement. Let's go into your next round now. These are the semis.
These are gonna get really tough.
Yeah. So we got Anchorman fighting out of the number 1 seed here, taking on Role Models.
All right, so I think this one's probably a little bit easier for me than the last one. Anchorman is moving forward for me. Role Models is, we talked about it, it's really funny. The environment's hilarious. The people are it's a good movie, and it's also a really funny movie. But Anchorman, it's just iconic. And I know we said iconic a lot about some of the David Spade movies. We got some feedback on that, by the way, from our 3 viewers to this point. But it is. I mean, how else would you describe Anchorman as a movie if you didn't say it was iconic? Role Models is great. There's a lot of really quotable things, but I don't think you disagree with me on this. Anchorman is just a better movie. It's every single line, every part of that movie is quotable. You remember all of it. It's so ridiculous, over the top. But the cast, I don't think you'll find a better cast than Anchorman right now, at least on the comedy side.
I guess I'd give you that edge. Yeah, I'd give Anchorman over Role Models. And probably a closer battle, in my opinion, just for how they age. I think Role Models ages pretty well.
I did tell you earlier, it's tough to not talk about Anchorman, and like some of the things that you get out of it are it's a pretty sexist movie. I know they make fun of it, like it's making fun of itself for how that era was, but there are still some things that are probably nowadays, even though it's only 10 years later, that don't go over.
It's like 20 years later.
Well, since Anchorman 2 came out in 2012?
Oh, who knows?
I know. I can actually tell you.
Yeah, no.
2013. So even Anchorman 2, Anchorman 2 holds up a little bit better. But yeah, to your point, 20 years later, there's not going to be jokes that land the same. But I think they do it pretty tastefully.
Yeah, especially with what they're doing it in a parody type of way. Like it's meant to draw that. It's insisting. It insists upon itself. All right, next round we have This Is 40 taking on I Love You Man.
Yeah, so these movies are very similar, I feel like. You have someone going through kind of their midlife crisis, right? And I Love You Man, he kind of realizes that he has no friends. You think he's trying to pick his wedding party, right? That's kind of what it all stems from. And he realizes I don't really have too many guy friends. And so he's going through this transition where he's trying to make some new friends. And he's trying to realize maybe I missed out on a lot of things in my life. This Is 40 is, truly like a midlife crisis kind of. His business is failing. His marriage is rough. He's just dealing with all the stress.
Spider-Man.
His kids are monsters. Oh my God. We'll talk about worst roommates later, but man, can you imagine if they have kids that you live with? But I think This Is 40 moves on for me. I Love You Man is, Wow, you would take I Love You Man over This Is 40, huh?
Yeah, in a heartbeat. Honestly,
I think it's a better movie. Maybe it's not as funny. It doesn't have as good, cameos as I Love You Man does, but overall, I don't think you can argue that. I mean, I Love You Man is more of a slapstick comedy. It's more of just a lot of things to get laughs, but not a ton of substance there, whereas This Is 40 actually deals with some issues that you go through as you're moving up in age, and as you're dealing with a family, and you're dealing with extended family, and you're dealing with friends going through issues. Yeah, I think they're both very funny, but This Is 40 is just a better movie. It just has more substance to it.
I mean, I'm still in my late 20s, so I wouldn't know about dealing with any of that stuff, you know.
You're older than me, and
Yeah.
I'm not in my 20s.
I'm in my late 20s.
The late part where it's past 30?
Yeah, exactly.
All
right.
I won't tell anybody that you're 32.
Yeah. All right. So, wow. In a shocking upset to Fudge, at least, ladies and gentlemen, we now have This Is 40 taking on Anchorman.
So, if you would have thrown all of his movies in front of me, I don't think I would have said these are the two best movies. But then when you pair them up against each other, as with him as a lead, and I guess that's actually going to be so. Brian Fantana is hilarious. He's he's like a cool character in a movie. I wish they fleshed him out a little bit more in Anchorman. Like I feel like he doesn't get as much as Champ Kynes does, or as much as
Brick.
Steve Carell. Yeah, Brick. They don't use him as much for a lot of the comedy, so he doesn't seem like he's. To me, he doesn't seem as much as a part of Anchorman as some of the other ones, but obviously still plays a big part. And the fact that he's the sports guy, it makes me like him more in that role, just, from me being a huge sports guy. But I think This Is 40 is a better movie, and he's the true lead in it. So I feel like for me and everyone else listening, and you, Zach, I might have to say that This Is 40 is the best Paul Rudd movie.
Whoa! You need to put some fireworks right here, get the graphics going.
Can you tell me what is wrong? Tell me something that you didn't like about This Is 40.
It talked about Lost a lot, and I had not watched that yet. So
I've never seen Lost, actually, but you don't have to because they gave you the ending.
Yeah, well, I got the ending when it ended before I started watching it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I'm saying
everybody.
I'm saying I was so far behind watching it that everyone spoiled it. But It's whatever. Still a great show. Go watch it.
I don't know against Anchorman. I mean, trust me. I think I just don't know if it's as good of a movie. It's more funny for sure. Anchorman is definitely the funnier movie. But This Is 40 is just a better movie. Like, if you were going to go take your parents to a movie, maybe not your parents, normal parents. Sorry, Tim.
I was going to say, movies I've taken my dad to.
They'll have this, they're going to have the same.
Me and Mr. Tim saw Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo in the theaters. We went and saw The Hangovers in the theaters. So.
If you were to take a girlfriend to a movie and their parents were coming with, and you wanted to make sure that they're seeing a good movie, and you had to pick between those two, which one would you actually pick?
See, that's not a fair question to ask me because
it's a fair question. I think it's a fair question.
I'm taking Anchorman. I'm taking Anchorman because everybody knows when you're dealing with the Fudge, I'm giving you everything I am. I wear my character.
You want to say this is it.
I'm not gonna let them think this is 40. This is Fudge. That's
so. If you're watching Anchorman with somebody's parents, which character are you telling them most reflects you in life?
Oh, I'm definitely not Ron Burgundy because I don't get pleats in the pants like that.
No, you're not as presentable, I feel like, either. You're not as well spoken as everyone can tell.
I would have to say I'm Brick. I mean, people like me because I'm rarely late.
I think you're more Champ. I think you're Champ. Kind of over the top, aggressive. Just really mean, and I'm more Ron Burgundy, and you want to get an apartment with me, and it's very difficult for me to get you off my back when this all.
I miss you, man. I miss your smell.
When this all gets sorted out, I think you and me should get an apartment together,
and just go pancake breakfast.
So we'll get back on track a little bit. So This Is 40. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. I know that this is not going to I'm not going to have a ton of agreements, but it's easier when you can just look at all those movies and pick. But when you're doing bracket style, you have to really compare them. And I think people will be surprised if they went through the same bracket, what they come out with. But tell us what you guys think. Wet Hot American Summer, Anchorman, Reno 911, Night of the Museum, I Love You Man, Role Models, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, all of these movies that he's been in. Some of them not leads,
Wanderlust,
but the ones that he's been in.
Brother.
Yeah, what's the best movie that in your guys' opinion? But nobody cares about that. Yeah. People want to know, Zach, what is the worst movie that Paul Rudd has been a lead or a heavy supporting actor in? We're gonna let you decide right now.
Yeah, that's tough. Like I said, I like this guy. Makes great movies.
There's not. I mean, I agree with you. There's not one movie I think I would pick here and be like, no, that movie sucks. That's bad.
We're using the term worst, ladies and gentlemen, but it's not that worse.
No, Zach, you are going to say it at the end of this. The worst movie you have ever seen with Paul Rudd in it. Here's the bracket. Okay, so this one isn't a live action, but it's an animated one, and it's got a lot of controversy around it. Sausage Party.
Oh, wow.
Versus Anchorman 2.
Ooh.
Now, Anchorman 2, I think, actually has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than Anchorman does. But I know you don't care about Rotten Tomato scores.
I don't care about any of those. I only care about the Fresh Fudge score. That's what we're starting. You want Rotten Tomatoes? I'm going to give you a Fresh Fudge score.
So,
and coming out firing.
Talk through it. What is the worst movie between Sausage Party and Anchorman 2?
These are both very not movies that I've seen multiple times. I can say that. Sausage Party I thought it was hilarious, a little ridiculous and long. It was like 2 hours or something I did not expect that.
A lot of stereotypes in there.
Yeah, definitely a lot there. But Anchorman 2 was just very insisting. It insisted upon itself.
I already used that joke.
Yeah, I know. And I'm calling back to it. I just Anchorman 2 is actually going to move on here for me. Sausage Party wasn't as bad as I thought a lot of people said. I did find it to be too long, but I just had so many issues with Anchorman 2 and just more so the delay of it. Like had they capitalized and done it within 3 or 4 years of Anchorman to try to capture some of that still gold scenarios that they had going. They had so many funny parts in the original. I just think it's one of the sequels that honestly I don't think holds up and kind of hurts the first.
Yeah, they might have corrected some of the issues in terms of what jokes they can tell and what jokes they can't tell, and I think that's why it helped get it a better Rotten Tomatoes score. But I agree with you. They did wait a long time to come out with it from 2004 till 2013. So 9 years, took a while to actually get them to make it. So Anchorman 2 moving on in the worst bracket. Alrighty, the next one. So I know a show that you loved to watch back in the day made a movie out of it, Reno 911 Miami.
Oh my goodness.
Versus Year One. So Year One, again, so now keep in mind what we wanted to try to do here is have him in lead roles and say, okay, lead roles that Paul Rudd was in. But I can't leave Year One out of our conversation because it's hilarious, but also it's pretty iconic. He has some really cool cameos, and that's one of them. So Year One versus Reno 911, Zach, which is a worse movie for you?
Oh my goodness. I can't even. This is so tough just because Year One is so hilarious. Everything they talk about, not so much Paul Rudd, but Jack Black and Michael Cera in that are just perfect together. I love that combo.
We got to do a Jack Black episode for sure.
Yeah, and then Abel, Paul Rudd as Abel, Cain and Abel there. That whole scene was hilarious. That was great. But he's just tired. He got tired from running into the rock. I guess Reno 911 moves on because as a movie, It's not a good movie, but it's hilarious. Like, I love Reno 911. They're coming back with the Quibbies. I've been watching up on, I got the box set of the original seasons, and the drug lord Ethan in that, Paul Rudd, is just hilarious. I do love that movie, but I would say that's probably not as good of a movie as Year One. So we'll move Reno 911 up.
It's a good choice. Yeah, Year One is definitely a better movie. I agree. It's hilarious. Okay, so we already talked about one of these that I'm going to make you choose from, but the other one, so Wet Hot American Summer is going to be one. You actually had it in the best movie bracket as well, so I gave my reasons for knocking it out there. But it's going to go up against Dinner for Schmucks, which,
so two of my
which you
movies.
also had. So I'm going to make you eliminate them from your worst movies, or eliminate one of them. You know, you heard my reasons for why they didn't move on, but what are your reasons, and which one is moving on in your worst Paul Rudd movie?
This is so unfair. Dinner for Schmucks, great cast. Like we talked about, Carell, Galifianakis, Paul Rudd, hilarious. I loved, like, when he's like, "Ooh, you're a big spender." When he first meets, he's like, "Let's check your taxes," and then he like Zach Galifianakis goes through his stuff there. That's
So he controls his brain.
Yeah, I release you. It's oh my goodness, Wet Hot American Summer though. Like, I don't know if I can say that's the worst because everybody is in that movie. Everybody is in that movie from that time, and it's hilarious. I'm moving Dinner for Schmucks on because I cannot say. I think Wet Hot American Summer is easily one of his top 3 movies.
Really?
For me, at least.
I'm shocked at that. Wet Hot American Summer is just
It's
too ridiculous for me.
It is so great when the meteors come in and they got to do it and they're running back and forth. A guy gets turned into a tomato can. Christopher Meloni making love to his refrigerator and comes out and he doesn't care.
I'm not going to.
There's so much. That is a quintessential Fudge film. It has all big name characters in it.
Who's your best character? Who's your favorite character in that movie?
Christopher Meloni.
Even though he plays a smaller role compared to some of the other.
Yeah, he's hilarious in that. I gotta. What's his name? Ian Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great in that movie.
Black, right?
Ian Michael Black. Yeah, he's hilarious in that movie. Dude, there's so many people in that movie. I'm blanking on some
people
of the
that are
names.
still famous now. Like sometimes you get a cast like that where I think like Clueless is a good example from 1995 where maybe you could pick 3 people out of that movie that are still successful now. But Wet Hot American Summer came out 6 years after that, and I think every single person in that movie that played a significant role.
Yeah, Elizabeth Banks is in that, right? Elizabeth Banks. What's her name from Superstars in it? Amy Poehler.
Yeah, Amy Poehler's in it.
Yeah.
Like everybody that's in that movie ended up being a big name in comedy, whether it was TV, movies, or just like stand-up comedians or SNL, whatever it was. So you have Dinner for Schmucks moving on. I gave you a tough one there. I agree. That is tough because Dinner for Schmucks, I think we both like. And is actually a good movie too.
You give me 2 of my favorites going up against each other. You should have split that up, and we probably could have got one of those other movies moved in.
No, this is better. All right, so the final one matchup is Night at the Museum versus Wanderlust.
Ooh. We're going to keep this safe for work, I think. So I'm not going to quote Wanderlust. The only quote I can go from there. Wanderlust is going to move on. This isn't too tough for me. I didn't really care for the whole hippie combine. I'm Eric Cartman in that way. I don't care for hippies. Just kidding. If you're a hippie and you're liking us, keep it going.
Don't listen to Zach. He doesn't speak for all of us here.
Yeah, I barely speak for myself. So, no, but Night at the Museum, that's just a great movie. He plays Erica's fiance in that. So he's not a huge role in that because obviously it's most of a Ben Stiller movie, and anything with Stiller is going to be hilarious for me. Wanderlust, moving on, not even that hard.
Even with Jennifer Aniston, that's actually surprised me because I think Wanderlust is probably a better movie.
If you want to go, no, Night at
it's
the
not my
Museum.
pick, so I guess I don't.
Yeah,
I
you're
already had to
crazy.
pick all my hard decisions.
Oh wait, what was Wanderlust 2 about, or Wanderlust 3 about?
I know what you're doing here because they didn't make another one.
Yeah.
Just because Night at the Museum had multiple movies made about it doesn't make it a good movie. And I will reiterate what we talked about last time. There's a difference between a good movie or a great movie and an entertaining movie. Zach and I both agree. You can be an entertaining movie and still be a bad movie.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think most of these fall into that category. I think most of them are good movies, but we're going to make you pick some bad movies anyway. So you're saying Wanderlust moves on. So we are down to 4 here. So we have Anchorman 2 taking on Reno 911.
Ooh, I might be able to get off here and not make Reno 911 go through. I'm putting Anchorman 2 through. Reno 911, I'll watch that. Reno 911 Miami, if there's any major people out there that want to partake and yell at me about not saying the full movie title. I love that movie. Great cast, great TV show. Made it into just a good, maybe 90 minutes, 96 minutes, something like that. Thomas Lennon, Niecy Nash, all the guys in there. Nick Swartzen's hilarious with his cameos in there as Terry. His father shows up with the helicopter. I mean, it's hilarious to just prove everything that Terry's been saying, all his crazy stories forever are true and real.
It is probably one of the best parody shows and movies.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, and
parody of cops, obviously.
Yeah, and honestly, Anchorman 2 just does not do it for me. It was not even that entertaining for me. And I'm entertained by a lot of stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. So that kind of puts where that's at. So yeah,
Anchorman 2. Entertained by a lot of stupid stuff. We can agree on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty, so then let's bring the last one into the finals, Zach. You have Dinner for Schmucks versus Wanderlust. I think this might be an easy one for you.
Oh yeah,
you didn't even want Dinner for Schmucks to be in this bracket.
Yeah, I didn't want Dinner for so Wanderlust is moving on. Obviously, I've already spoken highly about Dinner for Schmucks. I don't know, I just didn't connect with Wanderlust. Watching it, didn't at the time when I've seen it, and I've gone back and watched it a handful of times. It's just I'm not too captivated by it. It's not captivating to me. Whereas Dinner for Schmucks, I'm into just about every single scene that they got going on. Like, I'm not really bored at any point.
It's a movie you can watch multiple times and not get bored.
Yeah. So Wanderlust moves on.
So I'm gonna put up the Rotten Tomato scores for this finals of your pick of the worst Paul Rudd movie. The worst of the 8 I gave you. I'll give you a little bit of an out here. The worst movie of the 8 that I gave you. But you have to pick now, Zach. Anchorman 2, which is over 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, versus Wanderlust, which is whatever this number is on Rotten Tomatoes. Hopefully I put a number there, otherwise that's going to look awkward.
Yeah, man, I don't really care about Rotten Tomatoes too much. We've gone over it. The Fresh Fudge has Anchorman 2 at like a 10%. I don't like it.
Wow, man. I'm going to tell Will Ferrell when we do a Will Ferrell episode, and you're going to tweet at him, and because you manage our Twitter account, and you're going to tweet at him. I'm going to make sure to like, I don't know how you work the Twitter, but I'm going to reply to it and forward and CC him on whatever you do. I'm going to let him know you said Anchorman 2 was a terrible movie.
It was. I think he'd say it too. Hey, I love Will Ferrell, but I'll call out a bad movie. I like Casa de Mi Padre. That's not good on the Rotten Tomatoes probably, but that's a different story for a different time. Anchorman 2 is going to take it as what I think is his worst movie that he's in. From the 8 that you've given me, I'm sure we can go through and, people probably say, well, he was in Halloween, Curse of Michael Myers, and as
Whoa,
Tommy
don't
Doyle.
bring that into this conversation, Zach.
So
that's one of the greatest movies that he's been in.
I wasn't a big fan of that particular Halloween movie. That's another story for another day.
I don't like horror films.
I know you don't. You get scared.
I don't get scared. I'm not Nate. I don't believe that the dark forces. I don't like dark forces. That's Nate. Anybody that knows Nate, that's Nate.
Yeah, Anchorman 2 is going to take this one for me.
Anchorman 2, the worst movie that Paul Rudd has been involved in. And I will tell you, Paul, when you watch this, we appreciate all of the movies because it was very hard to even select any to go into this bracket, let alone for Zach to pick a winner. But there it is. More importantly, Zach, I have a new bracket for you that I just thought of. Who's winning in the fight bracket? You have Ron Burgundy versus Brian Fantana. Who's winning in a fight there?
Ooh, I mean, Ron Burgundy's probably going to win that, don't you think? He's got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary right here, like he's ready to go. So, and he's got the gun show.
I have to imagine that Brian Fantana is a little bit more agile, a little bit more athletic, considering.
Let's say this:
I'm making just an assumption here. But
if it's a fair fight, Ron Burgundy. Street fight rules, Brian Fantana.
None of them did that well in the fight scene.
Brick did.
Multiple fight scenes that they've done in the two movies, except for Brick with a grenade. But we're going to assume that nobody has a grenade.
He had the trident. Brick had the trident.
Yeah, I think he killed a guy.
Yeah, and I killed a guy with that trident.
Okay, so you have Ron Burgundy moving on, and he's going to face the winner of Brick and Champ Kynes. Keep in mind, Brick does not have a trident or a grenade here.
I think Champ wins that fight because Brick might not know what's going on.
The only thing I could see is that if Brick is like immune to pain, he's like so stupid that he doesn't.
Well, wasn't he being cuddled with a bear? Right, like Kodak or I forgot. Baxter comes down and talks to the other bear, and he's friends with his like brother or something, Kodak or something. I forgot the other bear's name, but
are you sticking with Champ then?
Yeah, Champ.
All right, so Champ versus Ron Burgundy. Who wins that one?
I think Champ, actually.
It has to be. There's no way Champ could lose. He's bigger. He's a more angry guy, I feel like.
Yeah.
Burgundy can't fight. He has shown you nothing that shows that he's able to fight.
Definitely Champ is taking that.
All right, we'll send him a trophy in the mail. There you have it. Champ Kynes, the winner. I mean, Anchorman 2, the loser of the worst movie bracket. What do you guys think? What movies should we have included there? What have you guys seen that you think belonged in that bracket or belonged to win? Keep in mind ones that he either plays a lead role in or a very involved supporting actor.
Yeah.
Let's go into a fun segment, Zach. Paul Rudd's played a lot of characters. He's played a lot of lead roles, a lot of supporting roles, and a lot of really ridiculous movies. A lot of really real ridiculous movies.
I see what you did there.
And some of the characters are awesome, and some of the characters are the worst. Not in terms of his acting ability, but the people that he portrays. What do you think? If you could pick any Paul Rudd character as your roommate, who would you go with?
Ooh, there's a lot of good ones. There's definitely a lot of. He plays a lot of people that I'm like, yeah, I could get along with this guy. Big one that comes to mind is I Love You, Man, Peter Clavin. I mean, he's in real estate.
Wrong.
So we're wrong. He knows how to make a spread, so I'm not going to go hungry. He doesn't have a lot of friends, so he's going to want to be my friend. And if I wanted to take advantage of asking him to pay more rent than me, knowing that he makes so much money.
In real life, he would be the exact opposite of what he is in that movie. Think about it. He has no...
But we're taking those people, though.
Yeah, but he has no guy friends growing up. You wouldn't be the clingy one. You wouldn't be the Jason Segel in this one. He would be clingy for sure because he would get that first taste of, oh, I got like a guy friend. We can do fun stuff. And then next thing you know, he literally never leaves you alone.
Yeah, but see, that'd be fine for me. That'd be cool. I'd have a little entourage going.
Until then, you have his wife or his fiance getting all over you and then trying to butt in on everything that you guys do. And then get mad at him and then get mad at you.
If Rashida Jones wants to have a conversation with me, I would gladly have that conversation. She's amazing, and I would just, I'll talk to her. I'm sorry. And then she has if I'm taking this as if I wasn't currently married, obviously, Rashida Jones has a very attractive friend that's trying to find love with Jason Segel's character. That when they go golfing, she's a little clingy.
I don't think your wife would appreciate that.
I don't think she wouldn't not appreciate it. If I'm living with a roommate, I'm clearly not married. So that's in this hypothetical, Peter Clavin. You said wrong though. Who are you taking? Who are you bunking up with?
Okay, so I'm going Pete in This Is 40 for sure. So he is like he has guy friends, but he is like midlife crisis where he wants to do all the fun stuff, and he owns a record company. So you literally have the opportunity to meet high profile bands like The Rumor.
I don't like music. It does nothing for me.
Where humans are actually genetically wired to enjoy music. So even
I'm not a human, I'm a fudge. So
even if you don't like certain kinds of music, I find it hard to believe that you don't like any music. And then you influence them a little bit to, hey, maybe I go to a concert with you. Maybe I get those tickets. And then you start nudging, maybe you should sign this band. And then next thing you know, Zach, you get to go to free concerts for the bands that you like.
Is he going to sign Tolkien Suicide?
You could try.
If he signs Tolkien Suicide, I'm up.
So nobody take that out there.
Yeah, no one take that. TM.
I think J.R.R. Tolkien probably already has his name trademarked.
I spell it differently.
So I'm going with Pete with This Is 40. Or we talked about him before, Brian Fantana. He loves sports. He's a ladies' man. He wants to be a ladies' man. But he will go out on the town with you if you want.
I would not want to.
Just Sex Panther would be all over your room.
Yeah, I'm not living. That is a worst roommate. Brian Fantana, not moving. Chuck, Kunu, Chuck.
I agree with you on that one. Kunu is definitely someone I'd want to room with.
You'd only want a room with him because you'd be living in Hawaii then, and you love Hawaii.
I do love Hawaii, and it's not a bad thing to have to live in Hawaii. It's expensive. But now that I think about it, I don't think he would be a good roommate. I think he would be a terrible roommate. He doesn't even remember people's names. Two, he just seems very lazy. Does he not?
He doesn't. I think me and him would get along great. I think we're at.
He would for sure. I think a good roommate for you.
Well, you gotta do a little more than that, but
do less.
I think me and him would get along perfectly. I think, that's like a match made it. Fudge and Kunu. Sorry, Josh, you're off the podcast. I'm getting Kunu on here.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I would agree that. I think for a short amount of time, he would be a good roommate. Although it would be cool to learn how to surf. Although I'm still not convinced he knows how to surf.
Nah, he's just sitting on there pretty much and kind of water paddling.
I don't think you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I think you're ready. I think worst roommate would be Ant-Man for sure. It's on the surface, it seems really cool, but think of all the things that have happened to him at his house. Like half of a movie takes place at his house. There's a giant fight scene with people with very, very deadly sword thing. I don't know. What do you call the things that...
Sabers?
I mean, I get more like arms. Sword arachnids. Yeah. But I think on the surface... So I think on the surface, that looks like a really good choice because you get to be friends with a superhero, but I don't think anybody wants to have to live with a superhero, especially considering how many times they get the earth blown up or on the verge of being destroyed.
That's
and
true.
Then what if he shrinks to he's spying on you because he shrinks down to a tiny little bit? Or what if he accidentally blows himself up and then your house is destroyed?
Yeah, but if you're going to go based off the roommate being a bad roommate, because I'd rather have a superhero be my roommate than...
Well, let's not forget, he's not just a superhero. He's also a convict. So he was also in jail. Now, I know the they like justify how they did it, but I'm just saying it leads to suspicion.
Hey, he did his time.
But it does lead to suspicion when things happen down the road. So
he did his time. Lay off the man. I would not. If we're going off of criminals, then you got to say Reno 911 Miami, the drug dealer Ethan. That's got to be the worst roommate. I mean, hey Ethan, I don't want to be that guy, but do you mind getting the drugs off the dining room table? I got Lynn and Tin coming over for brunch, and it's just getting really hard to explain just about everything that you do around here.
Well, but it depends, I guess. Yeah, then it's really just perspective and what you value in a roommate or not. But I think, would you rather have somebody like that, or would you rather have someone that would annoy you most of the time, like David from 40-Year-Old Virgin, where Paul Rudd is heartbroken over Mindy Kaling for the entire movie, literally the entire movie.
I didn't know that.
With all that Britney Spears shit. So
yeah.
I don't know if I think that would be a worse roommate to have than somebody who, maybe makes some money the only way that they know how. Zach, don't judge other people's way of living.
I don't judge. Hey, I'm the Fudge. I don't judge. Okay. I don't think David would actually annoy me too much. I think he's got a big box of porn. So he plays video games. He works at Best Buy, right? Or sorry, not Best.
Oh, he doesn't have a big box of porn. He gave that away.
He did get that would upset me. No, he would. He actually, I think I'd get along good with him. I think his character that might get on my nerves the most is the character he plays in Our Idiot Brother Ned, and that's just because
that's it. I think that's probably the easiest decision.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest. Yeah, to go with, but
or John Lennon from Dewey Cox. When the Beatles end up fighting, when they're doing all the LSD.
I think I kind of do.
That could go both ways. That could be either a good roommate or a bad one.
Yeah.
So, Zach, Paul Rudd has been in a lot of movies. But believe it or not, some movies he hasn't been in. But if you had the choice to put him in those movies, what would be some movies that you would recast Paul Rudd as the lead actor in and replace somebody else that you think would either make the movie better or make Paul Rudd's career better?
So there's a lot of movies that I would want to see him in. Some movies that would be outside of his wheelhouse. Well, not even anymore. Like I know when we were talking earlier, I said like, what if it wasn't Christian Bale? What if it was Paul Rudd? As the Dark Knight. Yeah, but I don't think that. I think he's Ant-Man, not Batman. Right. So that would be too hard. But when I was going through. Getting his list together of all the movies to give you the best thing, a movie that popped up like that came up next to it was Hot Tub Time Machine.
You would have him replace
John Cusack.
Yeah. Which John Cusack was an interesting pick for that because you have the same comedic universe with Craig Robinson and
Rob Corddry, Clark Duke.
Yeah, and they cast John Cusack in it, who just seems really out of place.
Yeah,
he was good in it. Now, don't get me wrong. I thought Hot Tub Time Machine was awesome. It's hilarious. Another iconic movie. Probably not that iconic, but a good movie, a funny movie.
I think
that would be interesting. Do you think Paul Rudd could play that like darker side? Because that's what John Cusack does in that movie. He's like ends up hitting the darker side of that group, and then it leads to more of the seriousness of the movie. Do you think Paul Rudd could pull that off?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think about obviously any of the stuff that Cusack does in that movie, as far as the comedic value goes, there's no debate. I think we're both in agreement that Paul Rudd can deliver that, and maybe with a little bit more comedic timing. But when you see movies where role models, Vente 20, know you're dumb in 3 languages, like he's a little serious there. I think he could take that into that kind of darker side that you're talking about and pull it off. I think honestly, if you have him, Craig Robinson, Rob Corddry, and Duke Clark as the 4 main people in that movie, I think Hot Tub Time Machine 2 is going to be even better as well.
It probably is a better movie. I think I agree with you there. But I don't know if I'm recasting something, I don't want Paul Rudd to play the same character that he plays. Like I think that's a character that's like right along his wheelhouse. I want to see Paul Rudd in something like John Wick. I want to see Paul Rudd play a serious role. Now, I don't think anyone could top Keanu Reeves in that role. John Wick is one of the best movies that's come out in the last 10 years. The whole sequel or the whole trilogy. And they have a 4th one that's coming out next year. But I think seeing him in something like that, or like I saw Cold Pursuit last year, I think that came out, where there is a lot of comedy in that, and Liam Neeson plays the main character in that. But I think it would be a cool role to see Paul Rudd try to play, or like Mile 22.
Oh, Mile 22.
I want to see him just get an opportunity to be just in an action movie, because he kind of gets that with Ant-Man, where he's doing a lot of action, but it's still 50% comedy, and you never get to the full-blown like action star status with Paul Rudd. But I think he can do it.
So take Gerard Butler out of the Olympus Has Fallen movies and put Paul Rudd in those.
Yeah, but I don't.
Or is that a little too much action?
I don't like those movies because they came out with what was the other one that came out at like the exact same time with
White House Down with Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx.
Just copied each other. Now put them in like Hitman's Bodyguard. Take Ryan Reynolds out, because I think he can play a very similar role to Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds gets some of those more action movies. The one that Six Underground that Ryan Reynolds was in, where he's just people are dying for 2 hours. Put Paul Rudd in that, where you still get some of that comedic value, but it's more action, where you get to see Paul Rudd actually freaking gun jitsu people and stuff. So that's what I want to see him recast as. I hope that we get to see Paul Rudd play a more serious role, but action filled, not just a serious role where it's more of a drama. If he wants. Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe that's not his style, but maybe we'll see it someday. All right, so those are movies that I would love to see him in, that you would like to see him in, that we'll make our Be Kind Rewind versions of with him, when we get buddy with him. But tell me about what kind of movie, if you could draw something up from scratch for Paul Rudd, what movie are you writing for Paul Rudd right now?
Right now, I got a great pitch for you, okay? If you're Paul Rudd's agent, Paul Rudd, call me. I got the perfect lineup for you. We got to make sure we can get this cast together for it. But so Paul Rudd plays Officer Peter Reynolds, who is a New York City police officer. He's currently married to Catherine Hahn, his wife, and he comes home to find her cheating on him with his partner. So he gets into it. He gets in a huge fight, opening scene. They're fighting with the partner, not with the wife. He ends up losing his job because of it, because they both those two are in love now. So he's now out of a job with the NYPD, and he relocates to the only place that's currently hiring, and that's a small town in Wisconsin. And he's going to be an officer in a small town in Wisconsin.
What town is it, Zach? What town is he going to be?
So I want to make it a made-up town, but I'm picturing like the Oshkosh area. So it's kind of a small, big town, college atmosphere.
I thought for sure you were going to go with Ripon, Wisconsin.
I was going to, but
proud Ripon College alumni here, by the way.
So we got a buddy cop comedy kind of thriller drama, all that fun stuff coming in here. And he's going to be paired up with Wisconsin's finest police officer, Hunter Schmidt, who is played by Bobby Moynihan, a.k.a. Brother Nature, a.k.a. Drunk Uncle, from SNL. And Officer Hunter Schmidt, he's your stereotypical Wisconsin kind of actor, going to be he's not a Wisconsin actor, but Wisconsin character. He likes to to have fun. He doesn't take things too seriously. Paul Rudd coming from the big city, there's going to be some like, who's this guy? I can't believe I'm dealing with this guy. You're going to get good comedy out of there. And then it turns into just a normal traffic stop, and they find a new drug. And they got to figure out the supplier. And it turns out that the supplier
do they have to infiltrate the dealer and find the supplier, Zach? Is that what they have to do?
And Jason Montezakis, if I'm saying your last name correctly, I hope so. But Rafi is going to be the drug lord, who's a big-time Oshkosh businessman. So he's in everything. So no one wants to. Everyone's turning a blind eye. And
for the record, I would put him in every movie that I make.
Yeah,
he's hilarious.
I literally wrote this role just for Rafi because Adrian Pimento from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is just hilarious to me. Dennis Feinstein, hilarious. Parks and Rec. So he's the main villain. He's got all these big people doing the money, covering the money for him. And they got to figure out a way to rid the Fox Valley of this new drug. And Bobby Moynihan's his wife, actually, if I can get this played, I got some scenarios to play, is going to be by Aubrey Plaza. I want her and Bobby Moynihan. I think that's a perfect couple for this movie. And if we needed to give Paul Rudd a love interest in this movie, honestly, I'd probably go with Wrong Missy, Lauren Lapkus. She's great in everything. She can play at a serious role. She can play however you want. And the title of this film, coming to theaters in 2022, Blue Buds.
So I'm just going to – I don't want to rain on your parade, Zach, but you just described Hot Fuzz that turned into 21 Jump Street. That's
but in Wisconsin.
You just created.
No.
In Wisconsin instead of
real quick. All buddy cop movies are like this. I just described Turner and Hooch as well. I described Beverly Hills Cop. I described every
So what you're
cop.
saying is that we have the formula. You have the formula.
I have the formula.
Buddy cop comedies, here we come.
Yeah. I think this would be perfect.
What do you guys think?
Get at me. Blue Buds. Let's go.
I want to know what the viewers think. Give us a title for Zach's movie here. He's going with Blue Buds, but I want to see if anybody else can think of something better. And what are the issues? Is it too much like Hot Fuzz turning into 21 Jump Street, or am I crazy? Maybe I'm crazy, but let's find out.
I think you're crazy. I've never even heard of those movies before. I don't know who.
But you've seen over 200 movies, Zach.
Yeah, but I don't know who Simon Pegg is, or Jonah Hill, or Johnny Depp, or Channing Tatum, or any of these. Dave Franco, Robert. I've never heard of these people. I don't know. 21 Jump Street, you say? Ice Cube? I don't know.
31. What does he say in the movie? 47 Jump Street. No, it doesn't sound right. So I think that's a good one to end on. We would love to hear from you guys. What segments do you want us to do? What movies do you want to talk about? What actors and actresses do you want us to talk about? We try to get a couple episodes out a month, if not more. So if you guys have ideas or things that you want us to talk about, let us know. Follow us on Twitter. We have a Twitter now, thanks to Fudge over there. We also have a Facebook, and we have our YouTube channel. So this will be up there shortly. Let us know what you think, and we'll be back on in a couple weeks with another episode.
Follow your dreams.